Hi guys, it's Becky, and today I would like to make my sister another necklace. And to do that, I'm going to use the Sparkling Snowfall bargain bead box. This was the December bargain bead box. I know a lot of us have already gotten our shipping notice for the next bargain bead box. It's the one for January. I'm excited to see what they've come up with because they never disappoint. But, and if you haven't got your shipping notice yet, they always ship before or by the 10th. So it might go out this weekend. We'll find out. But yeah, so we've got some of these beads left, actually a pretty significant amount. So I'm going to be using those. And because I'm making it for my sister, as I've mentioned before when I made another necklace for her, she has a pretty significant intolerance to metals against her skin. She's very sensitive to them. And so that's something that I like to keep in mind when I'm making things for her and like to work around that so that she can have something sparkly and pretty to wear without it being painful. So along the back side of the necklace, I am going to be using an alternative material, and that is a satin ribbon. So I've got this spool of satin ribbon and I'm going to be using it. It's soft, it's smooth, and it's wide. So the weight of the beads against the necklace will actually be more distributed and more comfortable to wear than if it was on a chain. Although beads don't usually weigh that much, it's just another consideration to take with it. And I'm going to make it long enough that it doesn't even need a clasp. So she can just put it over her head, and then the part with the beads on it will be below her shirt line so that any metal bits that I have down there with the beads will not be touching her skin. So that is something that I'm going to be doing for my sister today. And so I'm going to be doing some knots with this, and I'm going to be attaching it to some connectors with some knots. So I would like to be able to secure that with some E6000 glue. When I do that, I've got a little piece of scrap paper that I'm going to be putting underneath my work and a scrap wire that I'm going to be using to help apply the glue when we get there. So that is those materials. And then I'm also going to be stringing some beads onto where the connectors are. And for that, I'm going to be using some satin silver medium soft flex. And that's the perfect size. It's 0.019 to use these 2x2 crimp tubes and my magical crimper, because that's my favorite way of crimping. I love it. It's so much easier for me, and that's how I like to crimp things is using those. And I've got some wire cutters that I'll be using for that. I have some scissors that I'll be using for cutting my ribbon. And then I think that's all the tools that I'm going to be using. I am also adding these two beads to it because when I tie a knot with the ribbon, there's a bit of a knot right there on the connector, and I like to slide these large hole beads down over the knot to kind of hide them and add a little extra sparkle. So I'm going to be using these. These were, I think I actually got these in one of my soft flex kits and never used them, but they are the European style bracelets type beads. Like Pandora style bracelets with the large hole that you've got on those. So for beads that I'm going to use, I really want to use some of these because the color of this ribbon is this dark navy blue. And these twist beads have that dark navy blue, that kind of smoky blue color in them, and I think that will be a really great complement to it. If I have these beads as part of my necklace, and I think I'm going to do a little 2-strand focal, so I'm going to be using these, and I'm also going to be using some of the drop beads in this. So let me get these out so that they are ready to go. I'm just going to stick them over here in my little section on my organizer so that I can pull this off of here and have it out of the way. But yeah, I'm going to use some of these drops because they are beautiful and shiny. They're like little frozen pieces of ice They were like the perfect thing for this sparkling snowfall to add to this. Like, I think they were honestly the star of this box. And so I'm excited to use some more of these. So get those out there, and probably some of those London blue agate beads. They are really, really pretty. And I think that they'll look stunning in between the drop beads for whatever strand I'm using for those. And I think that's probably going to be enough. It's probably more than enough, but we'll find out. And then I want some of these frosted white agate beads. Whoop. Let's get these guys out of here. And some of these crystal bicones. Yeah. All right, so we're going to do the first part first, and that's going to be connecting the ribbon to the connectors. And what I'm going to use for connectors, you can use like rings, any kind of things that you've got a wide area that you can attach the ribbon to. So I'm going to be using the toggle clasps that came in this box. Like, I'm already wearing, I already used one as for like its intended purpose, but I'm going to be attaching my ribbon up here, and then I'm going to be attaching my beading wire here, and that's going to be my connectors for this project. Just because I just thought of it just now, I'm going to just grab a couple of these, some of these out. I like to keep like metals to a minimum when I'm making with my sister, but since these will be below the shirt line, I think we might be able to get away with having some of these between some of my beads. It's these metal spacer beads, metal rondelles that came in the box. So let's just move these out of the way as well. All right, and let's get this started. Now I'm just going to start with one end. I'm going to wait to cut it until after I've gotten the first part attached. And so this is how I'm going to tie this on here. First part, I'm going to go ahead and put the end of this through this large hole bead, so it's already on here. I'm actually just going to do both of them at the same time. All right, so they're both on there. And now I'm going to tie this onto here. So I'm going to do 2 half hitch knots onto here. It's pretty secure. I am 98% certain that it will hold even without the glue, but I'm still going to use the glue because I just feel better doing that. All right, and I'm just going to smoosh the sides of this together so that I have kind of a skinnier profile on this ribbon, or maybe not, while I'm doing this. All right, so I have the back of the ribbon. I have one end of the long end over here at the back, and I have the shorter end here at the front. I'm actually going to move this along because I want sort of a significant amount of this for while I'm going through here, because I can cut off my excess. All right, so I'm going to make a 4 and then pass this behind this back strand and then around it towards the front and put it through that little 4 section that I made and pull that real tight. So that's the first kind of half hitch right there. It got some movement, that's fine. Now, one thing about this satin is that it's a really soft and smooth material, and that's one of the reasons why I'm definitely going to be gluing it, is because the smoother the material is, the more likely it is to become undone when you tie it in knots. So I'm going to do the same thing, make a little bit of a 4 over here on this one, bring this end around the back and up through this hole. And before I pull this taut, I'm going to do my gluing. So let me get my scrap paper down here. Because I want to put this glue right here between this knot and the next knot, just right here. That's where I'm going to place my glue. So let's get my E6000 open. Let's put a glob on my little applicator right there. This is just a piece of scrap wire that I bent around to make it into a little applicator for my glue. All right. So let me move that out of the way. Get that glue all up in there. I'm making sure I set that down on my paper so that it doesn't go on my beading mat. And now I'm just gonna pull that taut. And you know, there's a little bit of glue there, there's a little bit of glue there. That's fine, because now that that's been pulled taut, and I'm gonna pull on that a little bit, I'm just gonna cut a little bit of my excess, most of my excess. I'm gonna leave some of the ribbon. I don't want to cut all the way up to where my knot is. I'm going to leave some of this ribbon for wiggling purposes. And then I'm going to slide my large hole bead right down here and over this knot. Just use my scissors and poke the end of that knot into the bead a little bit better. And there's a little bit of this glue that's still on there. That's going to help it hold that bead right in place. And there's still some movement, you can see there. But now that is completely secured to my little connector on this side. And I can start making plans for the other one. So what I'm going to do to get the right size for this is I want to make sure that I've got about, I'd say from the tip of this finger, here, let me move this back a little bit. From the tip of this finger to the inside of this, of my thumb, that much extra ribbon just for tying and making sure that it's going to be long enough, because I don't want it to be too short if I do that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to hold this below my shirt line and then wrap the other end of this around my neck so that, all right, so this is where the other half hits if it's below my neck, because this is some metal and I want to make sure that it does not touch anybody's skin when they're wearing it. So now I'm going to add that extra amount using my finger to my thumb, and that's where I'm going to cut. If you want to use like a tape measure, go ahead. But that's just me measuring against me as the model to figure out where that's going to land, where that's going to sit. All right, so since this is already on here on this side, I don't have to string it. I could if I wanted to add it to the other side. I didn't have to pre-string both of these. I'm going to put my ribbon away, and I'm going to tie a double half hitch on my other connector. And it doesn't matter if it's twisted or not right now, because we will make sure it's twisted in the right way so it isn't, you know, all twisted up when you wear it. We'll twist it in the right direction when we connect our beaded wire to each side. we'll be paying attention to it then. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave this here since I'm going to be gluing in a minute. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do the double half hitch by going through my guy here with the end of my ribbon. Remember all that extra amount that I cut off for tying? That's what I've got going over here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a little 4, come around the back, and then go down through that hole. Tie that tight. I'm going to take this again, make another 4, go around the back, come up through that hole, and before I tie this tight, whoop, hey buddy, there we go. Before I tie this tight, I'm going to go ahead and set it down and pick up my glue again. So that I can glue this little bit right here between the first knot and the second knot. I'm going to glue right in there. This is a really fun technique. I love using it. I've made a few other necklaces like this. So I'm just putting that glue right in there. Hey, hold on, glob. I think I'm okay with that glob being there because it will help secure my large hole bead. Alright, so now that that is tight, I'm going to go ahead and cut my ribbon right there. Glad that fell there instead of on my beading mat. And I'm going to take this other large hole bead, put it down here. Let's get this guy all the way in that hole. All right. It looks like I've got a little bit of ribbon poking out at the top. So I'm just going to trim that away. There we go. I'm also going to, I've got some glue on the end of these scissors. I'm going to just wipe that off of there with my fingers because the E6000 will roll off of my fingers when I rub them together. Carefully so you don't cut your fingers on that. All right, so now we're done with our scissors, we are done with our glue, we are done with our ribbon, and I am ready to start stringing some things. All right, so let's get our beading wire out. And I think since I want to do 2-ish strands, I'm going to pull off about that much, because with this long end, I'm going to want to have a little bit of a smile with my thing, and then another little line up above that. So if I pull out that much and then just double that, add a little bit more for crimping, that should be enough, I think. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find about the middle of this wire. Oh, Ellen, It's okay. We'll snuggle in a minute. She's eaten, she's been outside. And we snuggled for a good part of the day, but like, it's just never enough for her. She is a baby, a tiny baby. She is almost a 60-pound dog, but she is a tiny baby. And that's just who she is. It's fine. So I pulled out a couple of crimp tubes that I'm going to be using. I'm going to go through this connector with both ends of my wire, and I'm going to put a crimp tube on both of these. Scooch it right up. Let's go ahead and get this crimped before we start. If you haven't seen the magical crimpers before, I love them because they smooth out rough edges and you don't have to worry about a crimp cover. And that's why I keep using it. But you start out and it smushes and you've got some sharp edges from that. But if you smush it from a different angle, and you do that again and again, kind of rotating it and smush, rotate and smush, rotate and smush, it smooths down all those rough edges and you end up with a nice crimped bead. I love it. Like, this is, once I learned how to do this, like, I haven't crimped any other way since then. It's just what I like to do. It works for me. All right, which one of these is longer than the other? This one's a little bit longer, that's fine. That'll be my lower end, and this will be my upper end. So I'm going to do my lower end first. I'm just going to discard or disregard, not discard, that upper strand of my little necklace. It's gonna end up looking like a smile. So I'm gonna have beads down here and then some other beads on here, basically. So for this one, this is the one that I want my navy blue beads and these beads on this part. So I'm going to just start stringing. I'm going to put one of these crackle agates on there. Put one of these twist beads. Crackle agate. Twist bead. This is going to be like a fairly simple stringing design on it because like most of the impact is going to come from the beads themselves, not necessarily from the order that they're on there or how they interact. Is that all of my ones? I think there were a couple more in here. Let me just make sure I've got all of these guys out here. But yeah, one of the things is you can go ahead and use like bigger beads if you use this method because you're saving a lot of weight on your necklace by using ribbon if you do that. Alright. It's entirely possible that I'm just going to stick these two over there so I can do earrings with them later. And have these two be my last two guys on this strand. All right, sparkly. So since I don't want these to go flying off while I'm working on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bead stopper. All right. And so I'm not going to be using as many beads on this other side because I want this to be shorter so that when it's hanging, it will sort of drop down. Actually, I'm going to switch places with these. This one's going to be the upper one, and this one's going to be lower because that way the drops won't have to bloop onto here. They'll be able to hang more freely so that when it is like that, there'll be like a little bit more room between this and the other. And it'll be like two. All right, yes, I like that. I like that idea. Good job, Becky. All right, I changed my focus. All right, what am I doing? I am going to start with one of these blue agate beads. We're going to start you off all the way over here on that side. And then I'm going to put one of these crystal bicones on, one of these spacers, and one of these drops. And then a spacer and a bicone and one of these blue beads. All right. Yes. All right. That's gonna be good looking. All right. All right. All right. All right. I'm sorry. I keep saying all right. I hope that doesn't bother you guys. Speaking of things that bother you guys, I think I figured out what that noise that one of my subscribers, one of my viewers was talking about. And if you don't know what was going on, it was a comment in the notes, not on my last video, but the video before that, where she said there's this noise, and like for the life of me, I couldn't hear it. But just because I couldn't hear it doesn't mean it wasn't there. Because people, the wonderful and weird things that we are, hear things differently. Like some folks can hear things in a register that other people can't. It's like if you've got like a super auditory kind of person who walks in a room and for some reason they can hear the electricity or something like that. It happens. It's a real life thing that happens to people. So believing her and wanting to make sure that I wasn't getting that noise again, I started thinking about what was different between that video and the video that I posted yesterday, because the one yesterday didn't have that noise. And am I doing this right? Yes. All right. And so one of the big things was that on the day that I recorded that other video, my brother was home and he was, preparing food in the microwave, which is in another room. It's somewhere else, but it does make like, and electronics are being used, kind of a buzzing noise. And it's entirely possible that they could hear that because my mic picked it up. So today my brother was making some food and I was like, well, I'd like to do a video at some point. So I waited until he was done before I started this. So hopefully, and let me know if you hear that noise or not while I'm doing that. It's entirely possible that that's what that was. And now that I've figured it out, I can avoid that and make sure that we don't have weird buzzing noises that bother some of my viewers because I just, you know, I'd rather you enjoy watching me than have to struggle through it, if you know what I mean. Like, it would be so awful if you had to like be like, I want to watch, but it's such a pain. It's so much work. Who wants that? You know what, you guys? I love the way this looks. Love, 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 love it. Yes. Yes, good job, Becky. You had a great idea. Sometimes, you guys, you have to let yourself know that you're doing a good job. It's totally fine to talk yourself up. It's totally fine to like be like, you know what? I'm doing great. Doing the best I can. All right, yeah, and then that'll dangle very nicely. My sister's gonna have some sparkle. Like, she already has sparkle, but like at least now people will see it on the outside even when she is not being her sparkly self. I love being able to make stuff for my loved ones. I think that's one of the great things about making things on our own is that we can tailor them for the people that we love. We can do something designed for them instead of just, you know, something that maybe was designed for somebody else or oh, almost. Okay, it's going to be kind of a smaller smile. All right, I'm going to want definitely one more repeat, and then we'll end with more of these guys. So one more thing here and a few more of those. Okay, perfect. But yeah, this is honestly, like, I can't pick favorites, but this is one of my favorite of the bargain bead boxes last year. It was just, I love the colors. I am a fan of blues. I'm a fan of silver and blue and white all together. It is one of my favorite things. All right, let me see if this is going to be long enough. I am going to pinch both of these together right here on this side. I'm going to see how that drapes. Okay. Yep. I can see some draping happening. I like it. That's going to be long enough. That is perfect. All right, so now comes the tricky part. Now I'm going to want to make sure that this ribbon does not get twisted funky. So I'm going to lay it flat here, flat there. All right, so this is the front of this side or side, and this is the front or side of that side. So I'm going to connect it here with this being kind of the front-ish. And now comes the real fun part, using the crimp bead to attach both ends of this wire together and loop it on here. So let's get a little closer so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to put that crimp bead on both of these strands of wire at once. I'm going to pull it taut, but not too taut, because I want a little bit of movement still in here. I don't want it to be stiff. So right there. Whoop. Right there is good. And now I'm going to have one of these loops go through by not twisting this, not turning it, going through that loop, and I'm going to drop that off my finger and put this end that went through here back through my crimp tube. You can't see the crimp tube that well because my finger's in the way, but I don't want to drop it out of my finger. All right, let me scooch this down here so you can see what I'm doing. So this line is the one that went all the way through the loop of my connector and then back down through this. This end, this strand, just is going through the crimp tube once. Now let me tighten this other end up because it's a little loose. Where's my thing? I'm just grabbing. I'm using them kind of as pliers to kind of grab my wire. Okay, that was two. Oh, there we go. Oh, so wait, this is the one that's going through there first. Okay, so that's not. All right, we still have movement. All right, so right there where it's at, loop is too big. Let me close that loop down a little bit. I want it to be about the same size as the loop on the other side. Just, symmetry's sake. And that is perfect. I'm just going to use my fingernail to move that agate bead a little distance from my crimp so that I can fit my crimper here. And I am almost done, Ellen. Can you believe it? Almost. As soon as I'm done making my sister this beautiful necklace, I can give you every single pet that you deserve. I promise. I don't think she believes me. It would help if she could speak English, but she doesn't yet, so that's fine. I think she just wants to talk to y'all. She wants to tell Maria hi, because Maria always tells me hi in the comments. Or always tells her hi in the comments. Alright, so now I'm going to cut off my excess wire. I have 2 strands of wire that I need to cut. One coming up the top of my crimp tube and one coming out of the bottom of my crimp tube. Alright. Careful so you don't cut your wire that you want it to stay on. Perfect. And now I have a sparkly, wintry necklace with a soft satin ribbon that my sister can wear, and it will not be painful, and it will instead be beautiful and fun and whimsical. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Let me know if you've used this type of method before, or if you have a different or better way of attaching to your connectors. This is just the way that I've done it, and it works really well for me. So give it a try if you have some ribbon sitting around and you want to see what it's like. But I hope you guys are having a great day, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you later. Bye!